Welcome to Podcast Marketing Secrets, the place for entrepreneurs, coaches, and CEOs who are looking to grow their business with a podcast, become a key person of influence in their industry, and get their ideal clients to come to them, also known as attraction marketing. I'm your host, Al Morenton. My guest today is June Edward. June is a platform psychic medium. She passed to the other side at the age of 27 and came back here by choice. She has worked on missing person cases, as well as consulted with many well-known paranormal groups and authors. An author and teacher of psychic and mediumship development, she created the Relationship Mastery Program, which teaches people how to change their energy, learn their 5 love lessons, repair their relationships, and magnetize anyone or anything into their lives. Welcome to the show, June.
Hi, thank you for having me today, Al.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for coming on. I'm excited to interview you. So why don't you start out by sharing a little bit about like your background and what led you up to being a psychic medium?
Well, I was born as a child with a lot of ability, and for the most part tried to block it for most of my life because as a child it's quite frightening. And I spent my life in business. I grew up in business. My father was in business, and that's all I've ever known is self-employment. And I've been extremely successful. I'm a trained chef, class 1 cosmetology, and medical esthetician. And when my gifts opened up again, I had to find someone to help me learn how to turn them off because quite honestly, you can't be on all the time. People go crazy. So I had to learn how to turn it on and off, like anything else in life. And most people came to see me when my gifts opened up about relationships. So I ended up creating the Relationship Mastery Program to help people reunite with spouses, separations, things like that. And as a result of that, I wrote my latest best-selling book, which is All's Fair in Love and Karma. But what I do is I teach people how energy works. We're all energy. Everything in the universe is pure energy. Our souls are pure energy. We are not the suit that's sitting here. We are the soul that's inside. And when you learn how the universe works and how energy works, this is where the law of attraction comes in. And you can literally attract anything that you want into your life because as energy, we are like magnets, and we are always either attracting or repelling anything into our life. So in business, isn't it wonderful to learn the law of attraction, right? Because you'll attract the client base that you want, you'll attract people around you that will help you. And that's the same with anything in life. You want to attract the people in your life that are going to be uplifting and teaching you more things. So this is one of the things that I teach is how energy works for the law of attraction, and then how to balance one's energy out. Because if you don't balance your energy, you can't maintain the law of attraction. And that's what most people are missing. Everything in the universe has to stay in balance. It's actually one of the lessons that we have to learn, one of the 5 lessons that's in my book, All Fair in Love and Karma. And money itself is energy. That's why it's called currency. And we are taught in this 3D world how to maintain balance in our life through money, through currency. Okay. So for instance, some people, all they do is work. They work 70, 80 hours a week. Well, they have no balance. They have no time for themselves. They have no time for their family, their friends. And then if they don't want to spend the money that they're earning, they don't even value themselves enough to spend the fruits of their labor on themselves. Now your lesson of self-worth kicks in, doesn't it? Because you don't value yourself enough. You have no self-worth. And that's really where it all starts. It all starts with self-worth. Everyone here, you are entitled to have the life that you want. It's not something you have to earn. It's your birthright. You're entitled to be loved unconditionally, especially by yourself. It's your birthright. And these are the things that people have to learn in this life to be able to understand why they're here and enjoy the life that we're here for, and really attract what they want into their life and be able to enjoy it.
That's awesome. that's really cool, and it's I never thought of like tying in like the energy and like the that side of things into business, and
It's all about business because everything in life has to stay in balance. So everything has to be an even exchange of energy. You don't walk into a grocery store and plop down $1 million to buy a bunch of bananas. If they're only worth $2, then that's what you're paying, $2. It has to be an even exchange of energy. So if you're in business and you're doing it for the wrong reason, and I'm just going to go in and see if I can rip people off with solar panels or windows or roofing or whatever it is, you have to be able to be getting an even exchange for what you're offering for your service. And don't undervalue yourself. If you're doing an awesome job and you're the best in the business and you get it done in a timely manner and you back and warranty your product, that all has intrinsic value. So you can have an even exchange and get more money for that. That's what it's all about. It's an even exchange.
that's awesome. So yeah, and one of the big things about like what I do is, we promote the concept of attraction marketing, you know. So that and so how can the law of attraction fit into business?
It's all about business. Again, money is energy. Money is currency. So no one's in business for free, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're in business for free, you don't have an even exchange of anything. You're giving things away. That's just a charity. That's not a business.
So you think is that bad even for the person that's giving to always give away and not get compensated for what they do? Because there are some people that do that just they're givers and they don't like to ask for money
How do they survive?
when they should.
How do they survive? They're
Yeah,
living in a soup
barely.
kitchen and sleeping on the street? I highly doubt it. So that gets down to a lack of self-worth.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to understand that self-worth is not about the value, again, because that's what the other people place on you. Self-worth is understanding that you're the only one of you in this entire universe. How needed and how special are you that you're the only one of you in this whole universe? And if you're offering nothing of value, then why would you want money in return? That's energy, right? But if you're offering in something of value, then that's where self-worth kicks in. You're worthy. You're absolutely worthy. You have to learn how to put yourself first in this lifetime. It's not selfish and it's not narcissistic. It's where everything else comes from. It's the old adage, when you're in the plane and the oxygen mask comes down, you're supposed to put it on yourself or you're not going to be around to put it on someone else, right? Same thing. If you don't put yourself first and learn how to take care of yourself, you won't be here for someone else.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, for someone that like doesn't really value themselves, like the way that they should, and that needs to like increase their levels of self-worth or however you want to put it, is are those principles in your new book?
They absolutely are, because there's 5 lessons that our soul is here to learn. And until you
Okay.
learn it, you're just going to keep repeating over and over and over. Okay. So the universe wants you to think you have choice in this world. You really don't, because you planned this life here. And the only choice that you have is to delay the lessons that you're here for. So for instance, the universe is going to offer you door 1, 2, and 3. You go through door 1, you get married, you have a couple of kids, you get divorced, you're going to be in front of door 1, 2, and 3 again. Most people take door 1 again. They go through, they get married, they have a couple more kids, they get divorced again. If they learn the lesson they were there for, and for a lot of people it is self-worth, they're not going to take door 1 again. They're going to take door 2 or door 3. And they may still get married and have children, but it's not going to end the same way it did the first time because they learned that lesson. And you're either learning a lesson or you're teaching a lesson with every relationship. Nothing in this life is random. Everything was pre-planned and everything has a purpose. And this is where karma comes in. Maybe you wronged someone in the last lifetime and they're here to collect on that debt from you now. And it could be just about anything. And the second lesson is trust and communication. You have to trust that there's a higher power. You have to trust that there's a plan. You have to be able to communicate your wants and your needs to anyone in your life, in any relationship, whether it's an employer, an employee, your significant other, your child. It makes no difference. Your best friend, everyone that surrounds you, you're in some kind of a relationship with, and you need to be able to communicate your wants and your needs. And you need to be able to trust someone enough to be able to communicate those wants and needs. And then sex is just another form of communication. If you can't communicate outside the bedroom, you're never going to communicate inside the bedroom. Then you have unconditional love. And unconditional love is not playing the martyr. And, oh, I guess I better give them these things for free. I don't know if I'm, well, you know, I don't know if I'm going to ask for the money for them. I just, you know, you go ahead, you take, no. It's also not saying, oh, I got to stay in this relationship because even though he beats me every Saturday, I'm supposed to love him unconditionally. No, that's playing the martyr. That's not unconditional love. Unconditional love is saying, look, I care about you. I love you. We had a good run. This is not working. We need to go our separate ways. End of story. Suppose you had a child that you love unconditionally and they did something horrific, like they murdered a neighbor in a rage, and they go to prison for the rest of their life. You don't like what the child did, but hopefully you're still going to unconditionally love your child, right? Then you have money in balance, which we talked about, keeping your life in balance. And if it's out of balance with money flows like a river, okay? People have to understand, because money is energy, the more you put out, the more comes back. This is what the law of attraction is all about. You need to share it and spend it around. You can't hoard it. The more you hoard, that's living in lack. You have to live in a state of abundance and know that the universe is always going to make sure that you have everything you need, and it will. And then you have patience. Patience is a tough one, especially when you're starting out a business, because if you're doing it properly, you're starting out small. You're not starting out like I did my businesses. You know, I always started out, it was always bigger, go home for me, which made the struggle very difficult when it's bigger, go home. I survived, but it took me a lot longer to survive. So do things slowly, be comfortable with the steps that you're making. Have patience and know that every little step you take is one more step forward, right? One foot in front of the other. And if you have faith and you trust and you communicate, then you will get where you're supposed to be.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's one of the things that we teach people is, you know, is that patience, is that I call it being patient, persistent, and consistent with your efforts, you know?
Yeah. Things come to you when they're supposed to come to you. And you planned this life, like I said. So, you know, our soul is much bigger than this body. Some of our soul is in the body, some of our soul is over our body, which is people call an aura that they see. And the majority of your soul is in the fifth dimension, which is the lowest level of heaven. And that orchestrates the timing of everything that's happening in your life. So it'd be kind of foolish for every little 5-year-old girl that wants to play Cinderella and wants to get married and have babies and got her little baby doll if the stork started delivering her real babies at 5 years old, wouldn't it? You have to have patience. I know sometimes your biological clock is ticking and I want to get married and I want to have a kid and I'm getting older. Well, if it will happen when you planned it, and you have to trust that. Maybe you didn't plan it in this lifetime. Maybe you did. Maybe you're waiting for the widow that's going to meet you and you're going to raise his children. You don't know. In the meantime, you need to learn how to listen to your soul, which is what I teach, how to listen to your soul, understand how energy works, how to connect with it, and attract what you want in your life. And once you've put it out there for the angels and the universe, know that it's coming and just have the patience to go on with your life until things arrive for you.
Right on. Awesome. Awesome. Before we get into it, can you explain what a psychic is and what a medium is?
Sure. So everyone's born with psychic abilities and I believe mediumship abilities. So everyone's made a decision in their life that they just knew it was what they were supposed to do. Okay. You just knew you were supposed to do this. You didn't think it through a lot and you just did it and it worked out fine. That's your psychic ability, which is your soul. Okay. Mediumship is literally talking to souls, dead people that have passed to the other side. And again, I used to teach it. So everyone that went through my class, once applying themselves, had the ability to be a psychic and a medium. Now, there are people that have been trained as psychics that are doing it for nefarious reasons, and everyone's seen the gypsy at the circus, and the people that would just want to rip you off for money and tell you, oh, if you bring me $1,000, I can give you a spell, and even I've seen that. Okay, that's nefarious reasons. They will not be mediums. The other side will not work with you as a medium if you are not doing it for the right reason and pure of heart. It's that simple. The angels won't work with you and the other souls will not. So if anyone wants a reading, I recommend they find someone who's a psychic medium, and then you're guaranteed that the person that you're working with is at least honest and doing it for the right reason. Okay. And everyone's ability is different. It's just that simple. Some people can sit down and all they can do is play chopstick on the piano, right? Other people apply themselves and they can learn to play a couple of lessons. Other people really want it badly and get trained, and they can be a concert pianist. And then you have somebody like me who's a 6-year-old prodigy. I sit down and play Mozart. My mediumship ability is very, very strong. And I believe that is because I passed to the other side when I was 27 due to a medical accident. And I was told it was not my time. I could stay if I wanted to, or I could come back. It was my choice. And when you think of quantum physics and the speed of light, when my soul, which was pure energy, went into that light to go to the other side at 300 million miles a second, that's a pretty high vibration. And then it came back in my body. My vibration is automatically higher than most people. So I believe that contributes to my ability to be able to connect to the other side so quickly.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And you do hear that about people that they pass over and then they come back and that they're able to do things, more quickly like that, and that makes sense that it would be the higher vibration.
Right. Some can, and then some just get very depressed because it's just amazing on the other side. And when they come back here, they can't recreate that feeling. But you can recreate that feeling if you learn how to meditate and connect with your soul again. Most of your soul is on the other side. So when you connect with it, you have that feeling again. You have that high vibration for anybody that has passed and isn't sure how to do that.
Right on. Yeah. And so you spoke of karma earlier, and I think I was reading in your book something about how like the karma could be you might be repaying debts from a past life.
Right. So if you say you steal money from someone in your lifetime, and I don't care, I'm entitled to it. He makes enough money, he doesn't need it. Okay. You have no remorse for it and you don't make amends. Well, now you've created a situation where you're going to owe that person karma in a lifetime moving forward. So the idea is to try to not make any more karma in this lifetime. And before you come back, you literally plan who you're coming through, who you owe karma to. So you're paying that person back, and who owes to you so that you can collect in this lifetime. And it could be that maybe you stole money from someone in a past lifetime and didn't pay it back. So in this lifetime, maybe they're your boss. They're going to teach you how money works. You're going to work hard for that money. You don't really know, but you're connected to everyone in this lifetime. Nothing's random.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it's amazing how like once you learn this stuff, that it can make your life just a little easier, I think, and take some weight off of it.
It's just incredible. I've put hundreds and hundreds of people through my relationship mastery program, and I geared it towards people that were in very difficult life situations or were going through divorce or separation. And I remember one gentleman, he was in business for himself and he was in financial difficulty, and he had a ranch, and he had other people's cattle there, and he was selling their cattle illegally. And it was a small town, and he got caught and he went to jail. So he came out of prison after 6 months, and he was ashamed of himself. None of his friends wanted to talk to him. His wife divorced him. His children wouldn't talk to him. He was on the verge of taking his own life when, I popped into his cameras into his computer screen on a, a commercial, and he went to my webinar and eventually took my program. And it's a 7-week program, and it changes everything in your life. And the result of doing the program, within a year, he wrote a book about his experience in prison. He started paying back all the people that he took the money from. And all of his friends started coming back to him, including all the people that he had stolen from, all gathered around him, basically rallied around him because they saw that he was really a good man that had a hard time and was in a bad situation. His children all came back to him. And then he always wanted to do a food truck. So he started a food truck business, which did amazing for him. And within a year, it took about 2 years. Within 2 years, he opened a full brick and mortar restaurant and then had more than one food truck on the road for it. And everything he wanted just came back into his life for him in tenfold because he learned the law of attraction.
That's awesome. And it's amazing how just like like education, and finding the right person to get that education from, how important it is with every aspect of life, like because people wouldn't think like some people wouldn't think that that's something that you need to learn or take a course for or do something. It's something that you should be automatically downloaded or something from the
Well,
above. But
the
yeah.
reality is, we don't know too much through osmosis. We learn most of the things while we're here. But if you have trust and communication, the universe will point you in the right direction. It's the old adage, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So we do learn our lessons on the other side, but we learn them faster here and faster within relationships. Whatever that relationship is, boss, child, friend, lover, we do learn them faster. And when you're tapped into your soul, that's what makes the difference. So we all have a brain in our head, right? Most of us. Okay. So your brain is nothing more than a fancy computer, and it helps you sort through and follow through with the things you're supposed to do. Okay. But your brain has a very specific job. Your brain's job is to protect you. How does it do that? It does it by creating fear. So most people are making their decisions in life based on fear. And when you do that, it's literally a crapshoot. Half the time it works out, half the time it doesn't, and you're always questioning your decision. When you make your decision from your soul, that's the knowing. You know you're doing the right thing. You make the decision, you don't question it, you just do it, and it works out fine 1,000% of the time. I remember the first large group daycare that I opened. Now picture this, it's licensed for 125 kids. It's a 5,000 square foot building that needs a couple $100,000 in renovations. I had no background in early childhood education at the time. I had to go back to school for it later. And I was in the restaurant business. I was a trained chef, not daycare, but there was a need. I had 3 little children. I had just gotten divorced. I couldn't find proper daycare for my 10-month-old. And I just knew this is what I was supposed to do. And everybody thought I was insane. Well, I did it. I had $10,000 in my pocket, $5,000 for the rent, and $5,000 to buy the contents that were in there of a sporting goods store, which I turned into about $40,000. And the first summer I opened up with 5 kids, 3 of them were mine. And by September, I had 75 kids in there, and it continued from there because I knew I was supposed to be doing this.
That's awesome. Yeah, once you have that innate belief, that complete belief in yourself, you almost could command success.
Well, it's getting in touch with your soul. So everybody has 20/20 vision, and we can look at the breadcrumbs behind us and see how everything in your life has brought you to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and brought you to where you are, right? And everything, for the most part, worked out fine. Believe it or not, it happened for a reason. Well, in order to have that breadcrumb path in front of you, you have to listen to your soul, because your soul will take you where you're supposed to be. I also teach people how to listen to the angels, and people, angels, well, guess what? They're real. They are a completely separate race. They were never human. Their entire purpose is to help us. And their rule is they cannot help if you don't ask. But when you ask, they will be on it immediately. You just have to understand how to listen, because they talk in numbers, binary code, and symbols. So you have to know and pay attention to what's going on around you in order to follow those breadcrumbs to get where you're supposed to be.
That's awesome. And yeah, so paying attention is a big thing too. It's with everything, but yeah.
It is.
And
I mean, for example, I was sitting in traffic one day and I'm feeling kind of sorry for myself. And I'm like, geez, I haven't had any messages from the other side in a couple of days. You guys forget about me or what? And hadn't moved in traffic. And I looked to my left and there was a telephone pole and the number was 5656, which is 1111, which is the angel number. I'm looking at the car in front of me and it had my initials on it. I'm like, oh my God. And I looked to the right and the mailbox had 333, which is the ascended master number, which means they're working on it. And I hadn't moved. It was me not paying attention. Now I'm apologizing.
yeah, yep. And you're the lady for this, right? So you mentioned like, paying attention, and trusting your soul and all these kinds of things. So how do you tap into your soul, or how does someone like begin that journey in the doing? I know it's like not an instant thing.
No. So the easiest way to do that is through meditation. And every one of my books, I have now written 4 books. They are all available on my website, juneedwood.com. They're available at Amazon and bookstores and everywhere else, but it's easier just to go to my website. Every one of them has the proper directions on how to meditate. Most people don't teach it properly, so most people don't do it properly. And when you're opening yourself up for the universe, you're opening yourself up for good and evil. So you have to protect yourself and you have to stay grounded. And when you do that and you're tapping into your soul, that's where your vibration starts to rise, because you're tapping into the part of your soul that's in the 5th dimension and automatically on a higher vibrating level. And then you can start getting the answers yourself. People pray. When you pray, you're asking the universe. When you meditate, you're getting your answers.
That's awesome. That's a great way to put it. That's really cool. So yeah, and what you mentioned in there is like there's meditating for good and there's for evil as well.
Well, if you have a pure heart, that's the whole, good and evil that's happening in the whole world today. It plays out in politics, but it's good and evil, just like balance plays out with money. And the end game is they want your soul. So if you have a good soul, guess what? You're a target.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what as one of the things that steers people away from trying out meditation, some of them is because they don't want to get fooled into the going towards that evil side.
Then you have to protect. That's why you have to protect yourself anytime you do that. So certain things lower your vibration: alcohol, drugs, all those things lower your vibration. Alcohol used to be called spirits, because when you drink alcohol, it lowers your vibration. Then they can start attacking you. Okay. Souls that are stuck here, the lower vibrational ghosts and evil, they're all over the place. If you could see what I see, it'd be like watching an episode of The Walking Dead. It's ridiculous. So you have to constantly be aware and keep your vibration high. Bottom line, other ways to keep your vibration high: laughter, joy, love. Those things all keep your vibration high. And once you're meditating, you start getting that vibration high, then you have to understand that everyone that you bring into your life is going to be on the same energetic vibration as you. So it's like a radio station, right? You can't get the radio station in if you're not on the right frequency. So when you want to start bringing better people into your life, get better clients, get better employees, no matter what it is, you raise your vibration. And then you will bring people in that are on that same energetic vibration, and the other people will start to drop off.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Definitely. And yeah, and living in that higher vibration. One of the ways to get there too, and it's sort of essential, I believe, is like through health and nutrition. eating like high vibrational foods and all that kind of stuff, because there's processed foods that bring your vibration down.
Yeah, you have one body. You got one body, you're not going to get another one, and you're only here for a very short period of time. So you really need to take care of it. And that's true,
Yeah.
because if you're sick, you don't feel good, right? You feel like you're in a lower vibration.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then so that being said, so like you could have all the in great intentions for your business and understand these principles and be living at a higher vibration, but you mentioned something just a few minutes ago, and that sort of popped into my head. Is it important for you to sort of be in tune with the energy of your employees to make sure they're on a like at least a positive vibration?
Once you understand how energy works, you can read people very, very quickly. It's just like
Mhm.
everybody can walk into a birthday party or a wedding and read the energy of the room, and it's very uplifting, right? And you go walk into a funeral, everybody's crying, you feel the low energy, right? So when you learn how energy works and you can read energy, everyone you come in contact with, you'll be able to tell what their energy is. And you're not going to want to hire the people that have low energy or negative energy.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I'm able to do that for whatever reason. I've always been able to no matter what they're saying or how convincing they are, I'm able to read their energy and know if they're for real or not, basically,
Right.
And
And then when you understand how energy works, you can actually raise the whole vibration of your sales force, raise the whole vibration of all your employees through different things that bring joy, right? And bring
that's
happiness.
awesome.
Sometimes it's just the details. I've been in business my whole life, trust me. There's lots of ways to do it. And it's all about keeping the vibration high. And when you have happy employees and they have higher vibration, it's a happier workforce, right? You have the law of attraction is that much easier to fulfill.
That's awesome. I like speaking about business this way with you, and it's giving me like a positive, outlook kind of a thing, not outlook, because I'm always good at business. I'm analytical and all that kind of stuff, but I am a holistic health practitioner, and
Mhm.
I've worked with energy healers and all kinds of different
And
people
most
my
of
whole
those
life.
people, don't have any self-worth.
Yeah, for sure, for
They're
sure.
afraid to charge their clients for the work that they're doing because they haven't learned their own lessons. They don't have self-worth and they don't understand balance and money and balance. They don't
Yeah,
understand that everything has to be an equal exchange. They have not learned their own lessons yet. So you have to be careful who you're going to as well, and it's like a Reiki practitioner. You don't want to make sure you're going to a Reiki practitioner that's actually channeling the energy and not giving you their energy, which is lower vibration, right?
yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I've never hired any. I've just always worked with them, like as far as, I'm a holistic health practitioner. I provide a lot of stuff, including products. So I provide products to them and different things
Mhm.
like that. So, but
Another thing that people have a problem with is raising their prices, right?
yeah,
Because
for sure.
again, it's self-worth, right? I'm not, oh, people aren't going to, or they're making their decision based on fear, right? Oh, if I raise my prices, people aren't going to come in. I'm not going to sell as much, blah, blah, blah. Well, realistically, if you raised your prices 10% and you lost 10% of your clients, you're still making the same money for less work, aren't you?
Yep, for sure, for sure. And then on the other side of that, do you think people should like once they get in tune with vibration and energy and all that, should they look at the energy of their potential clients and like steer away from the ones that are potentially bad for
Absolutely,
them?
because then you'll have clients, no matter what your field is, you'll have clients that don't pay their bills. You have clients that
Mhm.
want everything for free. You have clients that'll be calling you all hours of the day and night, right? Taking up your time because they don't value you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And it's funny how like there's certain business principles like psychographics and demographics and all these different things, and niching down, and basically you're trying to get people that have similar energies.
Well, and the reality of it is when you learn how to get in touch with your soul, and you learn how the universe works,
Uh-huh.
none of that really matters.
Yeah.
because the universe is going to keep bringing you what you need. They're going to keep on supplying you with the client base that you need that fits into your model. You will never be in lack. It's all about trust.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Yeah, yeah, that's the way I run my business personally, just through knowing that things are going to be okay, and I'm going to
Exactly.
and I'm going to be brought what's necessary. I've never done a paid ad, even though I'm a marketer, I do content, and I do stuff, but I give away knowledge, and I give away, and I know that it's going to come back to me. The people that can, some people can't afford it, some people don't really want it, but some people, they want to save the time by paying for somebody, and they'll go to that
So,
person.
so nothing's random. Anyone that's listening to your podcast right now, they may not relate to everything that I have to say, but there's something that I have to say that is relevant and important to them, or they wouldn't be listening to this podcast. Nothing in life is random. There is a reason for everything.
Yes, for sure, for sure. So so when you first started, like, with the, hearing, like, the voices, or whatever it is, I was reading a part where I think you were, like, aesthetician or something,
Mm,
and things were coming to you throughout the day
right.
with different clients and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So uh what's that experience like, and then how did you have the knowledge or whatever to try to seek someone out to help you turn that on and off?
So when I was a child, I'd wake up in the morning and I'd hear somebody calling my voice and I'd see faces around my bed. It was very frightening. And I spent the majority of my life blocking it. And you cannot do the work that I'm doing if you have fear. So for a better part of my life, I did have that fear. I have no fear now. And the only one thing that I almost had some fear of was chasing a demon around a three family in Connecticut once because the family was being attacked. They had called me multiple times. I tried to get paranormal groups out there. I couldn't get anybody out there to help them. And it was a 4-hour drive for me. But I really had to talk to the angels and to my guides on the other side because this is not what I do. I don't work with low vibration demonic entities. That's not my calling. However, it was part of what I needed to learn and part of the experience that I had to get so that I could still help a lot of people. I've had many different situations where I've encountered demonic activity and had to go through that. But it's like anything else. When the student is ready, the teacher will arrive. And when my abilities opened up again, it was because I started to meditate. I didn't think I could. I was running 5 businesses at the time. I didn't think I could shut my brain off enough. And the first time that I meditated, it was like they kicked the door into the other side, and I just could not shut it off. And everyone I came in contact with, I knew everything there was about their life. I had spirits following people around, coming into my room. It was just insane. And I literally just started contacting everyone I could until I went to a church and there was a woman speaking who happened to be a medium who took appointments and was an instructor. And I called and made an appointment with her and I got her on a cancellation because she was booked 3 months out. And I again drove like 2 hours to go see her. And she's like, okay, bring somebody through. I'm like, I don't know how to do any of this. What are you talking about? I don't know why. I don't know how it works. So she's like, just close your eyes and tell me what you see. And I brought through her entire family. So yeah, from there, I spent 1.5 years. Then I found a couple of amazing teachers. And then the rest of my education has come from the other side.
That's awesome. So yeah, and it's cool that you're like, because some people aren't even receptive to learning from people, or they might go to one person and, like, okay, I got this, and then they'll become a YouTube person. But you seeking out more and more knowledge from more and more people, that's very cool.
The problem with having my abilities are much stronger than most people.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Most mediums can't bring through people at will, and I can. And the problem with not knowing how to turn off your abilities is people self-medicate. They think they're crazy. They become drug addicts and alcoholics. So if I hadn't found the right people to turn it off, I don't know where I would be, quite honestly, because I would be crazy. You can't do this, 24/7. You have to be able to have your own, we live a 3D life here. You have to be able to turn it on and turn it off. And they're not allowed to come through to me unless I'm working or it's an emergency. That's it. That's it. Otherwise, I'd be waking up every morning and have 40 or 50 people around my bed again. I can't live like that. No one can.
Yeah, for sure. That would be nuts. Yeah,
I
for
walked
sure.
into a grocery store one morning and I see them, but I won't engage with them. I see one by the front door and, he was probably a drug addict, alcoholic in a previous life before he died. And he knew I could see him. And he was angry at me that I was ignoring him. And I said, I'm not working right now. So he literally picked up a package of hot dog buns or hamburger rolls that was in a display near the door and threw it at me. Well, it only went about 4 feet, but the poor girl at the register saw this bag of rolls come up off the shelf and get thrown on the floor. And she looked at me and goes, "Oh my God, did you just see that?" And I'm like, "Yep." And I just kept walking.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, when you're working with people, you still work with people, right?
I do, yes.
So, does it have to be in person, or can you do
No,
it
because
on
it's
the phone?
energy. It's energy. It's just like, I had somebody contact me from a podcast they heard a couple of weeks ago that they had two missing people they were trying to find.
Hmm.
And haven't done them in a while, but I was able to locate them for her within 30 minutes. So it's all energy. And I'm picking up on these people. And, sometimes if they've passed, I have to let them know, unless they're going to tell me that they're dead. Sometimes they don't want you to know they're dead. They still feel like human beings because they have low vibration if they have not gone into the light. Once they go in the light, I can tell you they're dead in 2 seconds because the vibration is much higher.
Right on. Yeah, yeah, for sure. So if there's like a business owner that's like in tune and hey, this stuff makes sense, I
I
want to
can
be
do a
more in
Zoom.
tune.
Yeah, they can go do my training. They can do the relationship mastery program that will help them change their energy and understand how all this works. I also do speaking for businesses. I can do it in person if it's depending on where it is, or I can do it by Zoom for the employees. I do lots and lots of different things. I help people individually. I help their businesses. I do speaking engagements, lots of different things.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Um, so and then so you spoke of it earlier, but I just wanted to clarify a little bit because I saw something that was about the equal exchange of energy
Mhm.
between you and your customer.
Mhm.
So can you explain what that is?
So you don't see your customers for free, right?
Yeah.
They're paying you with money, which is currency, which is energy,
Oh,
right?
that's okay.
That's your
That's what
equal
that is.
exchange. Yeah. Or you could barter. Bartering is also fine because it's an equal exchange. But it has to be something of kind like value. They can't be giving you a car and you're giving them, a couple of widgets for their
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And and like in my early days of business, I was guilty of that too, especially with the market with the fitness and wellness that was always straightforward, but with the marketing, for some reason my worth wasn't there, my self-worth,
Hmm.
and I would charge a decent amount up front, but then there's this thing called scope creep, and it's like where just projects get widened and broadened and more work is involved, and I wouldn't charge extra for that and things like that back then. And
So the problem with that is when you don't have an even exchange of energy,
yeah.
it has no value. So for instance, when I first started the relationship mastery program, I would have people contact me that were in the military that couldn't afford the program. And I literally gave it to two people at no charge that were military that were going through really difficult times. Neither one of them did the program. It would have changed their entire life. But because it didn't cost them anything, there was no even exchange of value, they didn't value it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you see that, you see that like compared to back then and now. I'm sure my work is much better now too, but the people, that are paying more and all that kind of stuff, they're actually getting better results from the work too. And I think there's something about like, that transfer of energy, the currency,
Exactly. It has to be an equal exchange.
yeah,
If you only pay $100 for a car, you're going to get a clunker.
yeah,
If you're going to go lay out $30,000, you're going to get a really nice brand new car. You're going to get an even exchange. Same thing when you're working with people. If they don't have a lot to offer you, then you're not going to be paying a lot for it. If they have a lot to offer you that's really going to make a big difference in your life, then you have to have enough self-worth to know that you deserve it. You have to put yourself out there.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And if you're not charging enough, then also on the other side, you might not put the proper effort into your work, and you might just deliver marginal
Again,
services.
it's a less of an exchange. You're giving less. They're getting less. You're giving less. You're charging less.
Yeah, so it's like a
There's
downward
levels,
spiral.
there's levels of everything. There's levels of, this is why, if you go for a massage and you're getting someone who's just out of school and, they're not proficient at it and haven't been doing it for a long time, you're only going to pay a certain amount of money for those people. And you've got the person that's been doing it for 20 years, they have their own place, they're going to charge you more because they're much better at what they do, right? It's like anything in life. It's all the same.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And what the one of the things too that just sort of popped in with goes along with this is that it's amazing how much like energy, like you say, is everywhere. It's all around us, and it's in everything. And money is energy, and it's just when you understand that it's so abundant. Like there's so much of it out there. Like you don't have to scrounge around or try to minimize yourself because
This is what the
it's
law of
literally
attraction is all
everywhere.
about. You have to understand that money, being energy, flows like a river. It comes and it goes. And the more you put out, the more it comes back. This is how it works. You will never live in lack if you trust the universe, because they will make sure you are always provided for.
Yeah, it's so amazing. And I remember like I was I was actually in San Diego. I remember the day, because my life was always, like like good, like and good things would always happen, and like always these opportunities, and I would take advantage of, I'd go for them and stuff. But I remember this one time I made a business decision, and it was in the same business line that I was in, but it was on a higher level.
Mhm.
And I made like as much in one transaction. The transaction took me like a week. I had to spend like a week in San Diego, but I made as much in that week as I made like the whole year, the previous year, you know. And I didn't really do that much more work. I was, besides being away from home, and it was just like, whoa, like when I saw that possibility, like my whole life changed. It was really interesting.
Yeah,
And then it's the way you view things. Like you're like my energy changed, my vibration changed, and it brought in more of those kind of deals.
exactly. And then you just have to learn how to balance your energy in order to maintain it. Because if you don't, and
Yeah.
you raise your vibration, you will crash,
Yep.
because everything has to stay in balance. For every high, there's a low, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So if
And
you can't balance it, you'll crash.
I've experienced that before too, where I made like crazy amounts of money in a line of work too that I wasn't really that too thrilled at either too. And like I was almost like I was throwing it out the window as it was coming in, because it just wasn't there for me. Yeah, so I've experienced that for sure. Yeah, so I appreciate you sharing all this knowledge, and congratulations with your book as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
So is there like one like big idea or takeaway that people should, take from this episode?
Well, one of the biggest things that I can say is to be kind to one another. We just finished the holiday season. Everybody wants to, hopefully, they're going to be kind during the holiday season. But what about the rest of the year? It doesn't cost anything to be kind, right? And what you put out, you get back in this world.
Right on, for sure. That's the truth. So where can people find your book?
Again, my book is available anywhere, but the fastest way to find it is juneedward.com. There are links to all my books. There is a free webinar on energy that you can take as well. You can sign up for that. And then if you're interested in the relationship mastery program, you can go forward with that. There are lots of videos that you can watch, and there is an entire list of all my services that are in the back if someone wants to schedule an appointment with me as well.
That's awesome, awesome. That's really cool. And we'll make sure to put all those links in the show notes and everything for the episode. So yeah, and thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful night.
All right, on, all right, on. So that concludes this episode of Podcast Marketing Secrets. This is Al Renton signing off. I hope you have a successful day.